Hi, I'm Andrea Matthews, motoring editor for RACV, and I'm keeping you up to date with all the latest car reviews and motoring advice. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. While this new SUV might look like it's kitted out for off-road adventures, it's much more of a styling exercise. This is a lot more cosmetic than it might appear. It's the new Haval H7, it's a 1.5 litre turbo hybrid, and while it looks the part for off-road adventures, it's more suited to the urban environment. Let's take a look at all the great features we found. So let's start with the front end exterior styling. Well, it's definitely got a bold look. It's got this black grille here, fake grille here. There's a few fake bits on this car that we'll talk about, and this squared off headlight. It's really got some very strong road presence, which to be honest, you're going to love or not so much. And taking a look at the side profile, well, it's pretty jacked up at the rear end, but there's no complex four-wheel drive system sitting here. This is a two-wheel drive proposition. So while it looks like it's set for off-road, not so much. And it's important to note this car is fitted with a highway terrain tyre, so it's not going to be able to tackle pitted or muddy roads. Now let's have a look at the rear design. Well, the black continues through the taillight, and now, interestingly, GWM has gone for the GWM logo across the rear of the H7. In the last generation Haval product, it was Haval. We've also got one of the first technology things that I wanted to show you on this car, which is the electronic tailgate. The Haval H7 has got a nice big boot with a wide opening, which makes for a practical vehicle. However, what's less practical is the spare tyre solution. There isn't one. It's got what's called an inflator kit, and it's really important if you're planning to take a road trip that you understand how your inflator kit works. We'll put a link in the description to our information on different tyre options, whether you've got an inflator kit, a space saver or a full-size spare. It's really important to know what you're packing before you head out on a road trip. Now, the interior of the H7 is quite an interesting space. This vehicle shares the same underpinnings with the Haval H6, which is a rounded off family vehicle. And the interior is family friendly too, but the interior of this car mirrors the exterior. There's all kinds of things going on, all kinds of details, so let's go through some of them. There's a faux carbon fibre trim which appears through this centre console and also on the door handles. And speaking of the door handles, where there's a pretty chunky grip here. In fact, there are some pretty chunky features throughout this cabin. There's also some useful touches too, like this strap that holds your water bottle in. We've got a couple of cup holders here. We've got this area down here for storing bits and pieces out the way. For its price point, which is from $46,990 drive away, the tech game in the H7 is pretty strong. We've got a wireless phone charger, wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and we've also got things like heated seats and a really good 360-degree parking system, which I want to show you shortly. Another feature I like at this price point is the sunroof. It's full length, so the rear passengers get the benefit, and it's opening too. Now, we're midway through this car review, so now is a really important point to remind you, if you haven't already, to like and subscribe this video to stay up to date with all of our latest car reviews and motoring advice. And speaking of the rear seat, let's go take a look. As promised, there's plenty of light coming in from the sunroof, and there's loads of legroom too. This is usually where I would have my driver's seat, and there's loads of space here. There's also loads of headroom too, so a nice place to be for the rear seat passengers. There's no heated seats, well, they'll just have to deal with that, but there are air vents, and there's also a USB charger here. Another great feature is the included blind, which you typically see on a more expensive vehicle. And we've also got the same storage that we've got in the front seat. So there's this nice strap for holding in bottles and cup holders to slot in your coffee. Styling wise, we've got these rather unnecessary grab handles because, as we pointed out, this car is not going off the beaten track. So a nice easy door to open here and also to close with this chunky handle. Loads of details carried all the way through. Now, in terms of the littlies, you can fit 3 across the back, depending on your car seat configurations. There's 2 ISOFIX child seat points here, and also 60/40 split seats, which are really easy to use and mean we've got loads of space in the boot. And another feature, which I really like, is the ability to recline the seats, giving you a little bit of extra comfort. It's really interesting driving the Haval H7. This hybrid has got a decent amount of punch if you need to accelerate, but it makes this funny noise as you're taking off from a standing start. It's like the electric motor is spooling up. It's a really interesting sensation, but once you get used to that, I don't think you'll have any problems with it. You probably heard there a little bit of beeping too. So there are some sensitivities in the driver assistance systems, whether it's activating the lane keep assistance or whether it's noting that my eyes are not staying on the road ahead. It'll give me some warnings. If I were to look away at the screen, perhaps to select a radio station or to look down to select my heated seat button, then it's likely I would get a telling off from the system. It's quite sensitive, but it is better than the systems that we've driven in previous Haval products. Got some annoying quirks too. So the indicator doesn't always cancel as quickly as you'd like, and that's particularly annoying when you're in overtaking traffic. You've selected the right-hand indicator to overtake, you've moved out to your overtaking lane, and then the indicator doesn't cancel. So then you move it to cancel it, and it automatically activates on the left-hand side. It's really annoying. One thing I have noticed is the Chinese are really consistent when it comes to their cruise control systems. You select the speed and it stays at that speed. It does a really good job of moderating it. However, in this vehicle, if you're using the adaptive cruise control, then it can be really sensitive once it senses a car in front of you and will slow you down. Even if you move out to overtake, it's still going to slow you down once you've committed to that maneuver. But of course, you can switch those systems off, but it kind of negates the need to have them from a safety point of view. So one thing I wanted to show is how easy the parking is to use. So we'll pop this into reverse. And as soon as you select reverse, it brings the camera up. Nice and clear, very easy to use. And what you'll see when we popped it into drive is that that view remains. So we can see a clear view around the car, including the line ahead. When we take off, until we get to either 15 kilometers an hour or 30, depending on what we set, that view stays the same. And that's really, really handy, particularly if you're maneuvering yourself out of a car park that you don't know and there are other cars around. As with a lot of cars at the moment, the drive is heavily indicated by the quality of the road. So on smooth tarmac, this is a nice car to drive. We're on a little bit of rutted tarmac here, and it jostles a fair bit in the ride. But once you're up to speed, that all evens out. This isn't a dynamic powerhouse, but I don't find this car too objectionable to drive. I think if you're buying it for the styling and you're aware that it's really a two-wheel drive car that's styled to look like an off-road vehicle, then I think you're going to find it does the job around town. It's got room for the family and it's pretty easy to drive too. As you can see now, we've just had a terrain change onto gravel, and while it's not as assured as an all-wheel drive car, it does tackle these roads pretty well, and it's riding some of these potholes as you'd hope. Don't get mistaken, this is not a car to go travelling off the beaten track. And the economy, well, that's a really interesting story. This is a hybrid, so it should technically be getting fairly decent economy. It's definitely nowhere near as economical as, say, the Toyota RAV4, and it's variable too. So what you'll get out of this tank really does depend on the kind of driving that you're doing and the terrain that you're covering. I've seen everything from 6 litres per 100k all the way through to 10 litres per 100k in this car, and it really does depend on the kind of driving that you're doing. Obviously, with a hybrid, it tends to favour slower stop-start kind of driving rather than long sustained periods of motorway driving. So what's the final take on the Haval H7? Well, it's taken the great hybrid system and a lot of the technology that we've already seen in the H6, and it's repackaged it into this pretty funky looking car. The driver assistance systems are a lot better in this vehicle than previous Haval products that I've tested, so that's a big thumbs up. And the technology, well, it's very strong, and the value, well, can you get past a car that offers this much kit for its price? It's not an all-wheel drive, and that's really important because it means that you're not going to be able to take this car, even though it looks the business, out onto off-road tracks and things like that. But if the styling appeals to you, I would say take it for a test drive, give those driver assistance systems a real workout, and then you can make an informed decision about whether the Haval H7 will work for you.